flagship product is our collagen and oxidized regenerated cellulose based
Yeah.
products, which are primarily bioresorbable products, so they degrade into the wound, but they're primarily being developed and designed so they can interact with the wound and promote healing. So we did a lot of work looking and trying to understand the underlying causes of what happens in these wounds and why they don't heal. And then we developed the dressing so that it would try and change that underlying biochemistry and biology and produce a better effect and stimulate healing. So that would be Promogran and Promogran Prisma as a later addition of those sort of range of products.
The Yorkshire Forward grant, that allowed us the opportunity to have some money come in from an external source which Johnson & Johnson could meet, so it basically helped to leverage the project really. It meant we could do the piece of work that we had to do, the biochemical analysis, the clinical trial, without Johnson & Johnson having to put up the entire amount of money, which is something they weren't prepared to do. And it was initially itself with two aims. It was what Breda said, to try and identify, can we find the 70% that will heal and predict that up front, but also for the 30% that don't heal, is there something biochemically lacking in their wound, which would then lead us to develop a new product. So if those wounds were lacking in a particular vitamin or nutrient or biochemical, that's something we could add back in and develop a second generation product to target a larger percentage of the population.
We had the clinical research trials unit in Leeds running the clinical part of it, because we don't have a clinical group as such in the department here. So they took over the management of the clinical study, so we were able to work with them. And the other interesting part about that was it allowed us to collaborate with a lot of clinicians locally here in the UK.
We're in the process of developing a diagnostic test, which our plan is that when a patient presents in a doctor's office, he'll be able to use a simple diagnostic test, and from the result of that test he'll be able to predict, is this a person who will respond well to Promogran and Promogran Prisma, or is this a person where they'll just be wasting their money, that they'll be putting it on and that patient's never going to heal with this product, so why use an expensive product when they won't heal? It also means if they use that test repeatedly, we can get to a point where they can determine, you know what, the expensive dressing is no longer necessary. I think for us, one of the things we realised being part of Johnson & Johnson with 50 different companies in 200 countries around the world, 50 different operating companies, often we would go talk to a supplier and they'd say, oh, we're working with your consumer division, or we're working with your orthopaedic division. And it made us realise that even within a large organisation, you can't keep up with adequate communication with what everyone's doing. I think the Yorkshire Forwards, Medilink, Bite, CIC bring that back to a more local level. That I think we could spend a big chunk of our life looking to see what local companies are doing, what other companies within the UK are doing, but that's important stuff that gets lost within the day-to-day firefighting, if you like. That we all have a day job to do. It's very hard to do that and have one eye outside, and you almost get caught in that mentality of we must develop it ourselves. I think each of those organisations provide opportunities to see where the potential for collaboration exists.